Hey guys, welcome back to the Smitty and D Show. Of course, I am Tony D, and in the studio, guys, y'all understand? You don't understand. Okay, let me just say, I have followed this woman's career since I got to Atlanta. So let's say early 2000s. I felt like I knew her before I even knew her. She was everybody's crush. Everybody I knew loved this woman, okay? Seriously. Great smile, beautiful woman, beautiful hair. Can I say that? She's got beautiful. I'm just ragging on her, y'all. You've seen her on WSB here in Atlanta. You might have seen her on WGCL, the CBS affiliate here. And I think you may have seen her on some true crime dramas, too.
A lot of them.
Welcome to the studio, Jaquetta Williams. Hi, new friend. Hi, new friend. Hey, new old friend.
Hey, new old friend.
I know. What's going on?
I feel real good about being here. That was a lovely introduction. You were being very graceful to me because, honey, I don't know if I was everybody's crush. And what else?
Listen, I know people that like this woman.
I thank you.
I know.
I thank you.
Just a beautiful.
And thank you for saying nice things about my hair.
I love your freaking hair.
I used to get a lot of.
Are you serious?
Pushback about my hair.
Because it's news. Is that what it is?
I don't know what it was, but now it's so funny. It's wonderful to be able to see women who can wear their hair any way they want on air, and it is not a big deal anymore. As a matter of fact, it's not even a topic, which is great. So yeah, it's great.
So you guys may remember her. She had straighter hair.
It was like yours.
Yeah, straight. And then when did you transition into the curly?
I transitioned after I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and chemo took all my hair out.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. So I would say, was it 10 years ago?
Oh, no. It was 16 years ago. Coming
up
in July, it'll be 17 years. Yeah.
So you, unfortunately, you got diagnosed with a certain type of cancer.
Breast cancer.
Let's talk about it. When did you find out? What type? What did you go through? Mental? Let's just break
it down. So I was at WSB TV. I was 35 years old at the time, and oddly enough, it's amazing how God puts people kind of strategically puts them in place for something that's up ahead that you know nothing about. So I had been in the shower. I washed my body with exfoliating gloves, which means you really have an opportunity to feel your body when you're washing. I happened to do this little move. I felt this lump in my right breast. It felt like a little cyst. I thought, well, it's probably, I'm probably having extra something in my breast because my period was coming, menstrual. And I didn't think anything of it, but I knew I was going to get it checked. So graduated up, I'm at a radio station. At that time, the woman who ended up being my breast surgeon was there with 3 other women who were breast cancer survivors. One was in her 20s, one was in her 30s, and one was in her 60s. And I was there. I think I was filling in for somebody doing the news. So, and her name is Dr. Rogsberg Phillips. She was talking about breast cancer, how it's showing up much more prevalent in women of color and at a much younger age and rate for women who look like you and me. So I'd gotten the test. I'd been at the radio station. It was days later that I was going to be getting my results. I was working at WSB at the time. I was on a live shot. I had just finished voice tracking my story. I was about to voice track my story. I got the call from the doctor, and the doctor told me that I had infiltrating ductal carcinoma. And I was like, what the hell is that? And he was like, he said, you have infiltrating ductal carcinoma twice. And then he said, you have cancer. And I was like, oh. And I was like, well, okay. And they were like, we really want to see you immediately. And I said, okay. And I hung up the phone and I got ready to just finish doing what I was doing. I looked down at my laptop. There's water all over the laptop. And then I could tell I was starting to cry. I could not voice track my package. So I called the managing editor. And it wasn't until I told him I couldn't do the story, I couldn't track my package because I said I have cancer. And he was like, what? And I was like, I have cancer! after I was like freaking out. And then it was like a slow burn. And then I just lost it because I think my mind and what the doctor said on the phone caught up. And I ended up leaving the location. I was taken back to the station. By that time, I am in a full, I'm like, I can't even talk. My photographer had no idea what was going on. He just knew he had to shut it down and we had to get back. I get back, I go into the bathroom and I am still wrecked. Jovita comes into the bathroom and she sees me crying. I say it to her. And we both were just stunned and crying and upset. And then I remember Monica coming into the bathroom and we told her and she basically said, you need to get it together. You're not being professional. Jovita, you need to be on the air. You need to leave, get yourself together and get ready to go on air. Jaquetta, you need to pull yourself together. And in that moment, I still didn't stop crying. But I did kind of just gather myself and then I left. It wasn't until months later that I realized, I don't know what Monica's goal was. She may have been playing big sister to Jovita and me because I think, she, of course, in this market is deemed as such. But I think I learned from that lesson that nobody has the right to tell you how to feel when you are diagnosed, with something that traumatic at 35 years old, no family history, you eat right, you check all the boxes of doing everything right. And for whatever reason, I had breast cancer. And I had the kind of cancer it's called triple negative. And it is the kind that is most prevalent in Black and brown women to where they can give you chemo, they can give you radiation, but usually women take tamoxifen 5 years afterward to ensure or to try to safeguard that the cancer doesn't return. But when you are triple negative, like I was, and Robin Roberts, from Good Morning America was triple negative as well, you don't have the ability to say, oh, I'm going to have this extra thing. It's kind of like, we're giving you the chemo, we're giving you the radiation, good luck, girl. And if it comes back, it comes back more treacherous, and most women do not survive. Plus, even during my treatment, my doctor was very adamant about don't get pregnant. And she said it so much, and I'm just like, who can think about getting pregnant when I'm trying to fight for my life? But she had to tell me the information because she said, if for whatever reason I got pregnant and I had my cancer returned, she said it would be about making you comfortable. And I was like, what are you saying? And she was like, it would be about making you comfortable. And I was like, are you saying I would die? And she was like, it would be about making you comfortable. I was like, got it. So, and it pains me sometimes to think about that time in the bathroom with Jovita in conjunction with, there was another girl who was in her early 30s. She was a producer at WSB. Her name was Shonda Taylor. She had a brain tumor. We were both fighting our cancer battles together. The same tumor years later that Jovita would have. Shonda died in a 7-month window. Jovita died within a 7-month window. Here's the caveat to that. Although I knew Shonda fought hard, passed away. When I heard Jovita had it, for whatever reason, in my mind I thought, I know I've heard of this cancer. I know this cancer. Johnny Cochran had this cancer. Tiffany Cochran's dad. I know it. John McCain had the same kind of tumor. So I know what it's capable of. But in my mind somewhere, I was like, it's Jovita. So she's going to make it. She's special. Because even when I was going through my journey after I had my surgery, Jovita was one of the first ones in my hospital room with me, making sure that I was okay, checking, because it's amazing. She was one of the first ones who was in the bathroom when I told her I had it. And to the point where we had this thing where I was always so grateful after going through chemo and radiation, and you have to get your body and it burns your skin basically. But I was so adamant about making sure I had aloe vera because when this journey was over, I wanted my breasts to look like they used to look. But one breast was as black as this shirt, and the other one looked its normal color. So when it started, when my cancer was gone, I would pop my breast out from my girl. I was like, do you want to see where I am now with the recovery? Jovita was like, Jaquetta,
stop popping them things.
Don't nobody want you to pop your titty out no more. We have all seen your titty. We all know that you are happy about the fact that you still have your breast and that it is coming back to its natural color. Please stop popping your titty out. And I was like, well, I just want y'all to see what God has done for me. So I want to be a living witness that my breast had something in it. It don't no more. And I still got them. And they still good. Okay? Because here's the other thing. I was a part of a support group called Sisters by Choice, and it was women who looked, like us, and they were of various ages. And I was in my head about my own journey when I would have women I was sitting next to who had no breasts, who were happy that they were getting nipples reconstructed.
Yes.
So that's why I was like, you want to see my titty? You want to see what God done for me? You want to see?
Oh my
God! I won't pop it out for you anymore. I've grown past that.
Thank you.
But I was so grateful about that, and I think what finally made me decide to tell, because I wasn't gonna share that story with people because I was like, God, I got to fight for my life. But then I had gone to NABJ, which is the National Association of Black Journalists, you know it, and Byron Pitts was there. Byron Pitts was a mentor of mine, he and his wife. And I remember even before I came to Atlanta, I was like, I got a job offer as a freelancer at WSB, but the CBS affiliate wants to offer me a contract. Fox 5 wants to offer me a contract. What would you do? And he was like, you want my honest opinions? I was like, no, lie to me. He was like, no. So he was like, I would take the job at WSB. I was like, got it. So graduate, we're up at NABJ. It was in Vegas. I hadn't told anybody that I had cancer yet. And I remember seeing Byron and his wife. Now, mind you, we are in the middle of Vegas. It's Vegas, okay? Vegas. Vegas ain't changed. It was ding, 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 stuff. And I see them for whatever reason. And I just told them, I was like, I have cancer. When I tell you, Byron Pitts to this day, him and his wife, I love them so strong. That brother and me and his wife, we kind of huddled like this. And he just began to pray in the middle of all of that noise popping off. He prayed for me. And I remember just trying to make sure I had a good time for that trip, because I knew when I came back home, I was going to have to deal with the battle. But I also realized that Robin Roberts at that time mentioned that she had breast cancer. And I was like, well, you know what? If Robin can tell the whole nation that she has breast cancer, look like to me, I could at least, share it with women here in Atlanta, particularly because I did not look like the stereotypical breast cancer survivor. I wasn't an older woman. Right. I wasn't a white woman. And even as a black woman, I was 35. Right. And there was nothing in my lineage that said I should have made history for breast cancer. But now I do in my family. And that's all right. I can wear that. And here I am about to be 17 years later, and I am grateful that I'm still here.
And she got a boob, y'all.
I'm not going to pop it out, but it's lovely. It's lovely.
Let's talk about being a talent and going through that mentally. Yeah. How do you withstand that? Like,
you know what? Here's the thing. When you do TV and you understand this, you know how to be on. You know what it's like it's almost like it's a muscle that you don't even need to flex. It's just bam.
Right.
When they do 3, 2, 1 and that red light is on, I'm on.
Right.
Here's the rub. And here's the thing about journalism. When I wanted to be a journalist in college at Savannah State University, where Savannah meets the sea,
hello,
I never thought about being on camera, even though I knew the job was on camera and what that meant. So just because I'm in front of the camera, when the lights go down, or when I go home, or when I'm in the street, the lights never really go down. And it's really hard being a, role model for other women who were also diagnosed at the same time as me, based on me sharing. They were like, I have had women who were like, oh, I had a lump and it was nothing, but thank you. Or I had a lump and it was something. So we kind of went on our journeys together. So I'm grateful for that. But then I would go out and sometimes people just don't know what to say to people. So some women would say, my aunt, my sister, my grandma had cancer and she died. That's not something you want to tell to somebody who is in your face, who's fighting cancer. Sometimes if you don't know what to say, just say, I'm praying for you, or, hug them, or just say nothing.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I wanted to do was talk about cancer, but because I'd put it for everybody to see, then I had to talk about it. So there were times when, I would go to events and then people would want to tell you their stories or take pictures. And I knew my body, based on taking the chemo and all the medications, it was tired. So I learned how to just say no. I learned how to cut people off. And then I got to the point ultimately where I just stopped doing speaking engagements anyway, because of, as you know, when you are a speaker, there's a certain level of energy that you have to give and smile and talk and be gracious. I don't mind that. But when you are sick and trying to do that, that's a whole level that by the time I get home and trying to rest, it takes me where it may have taken me like an hour to rejuvenate. It would take me 2 days. And then, of course, being around those different energies, and I'm sick. So I stopped doing it.
Let's talk a little bit about Jovita.
Sure.
Jovita was the replacement for Monica for the evening news here at WSP in Atlanta. And you were really close to her.
I was.
How did you find out? When did you find out? How did you find out? And then also, I want to talk about Amanda Davis as well.
Sure.
We lost a lot.
We did.
Of people in a short amount of time. And you are still here.
Yeah.
Do you ever have survivor's remorse or anything like that?
I didn't think survivor's remorse, because it's like I'm not remorseful that I'm alive. Like when I tried to look up the definition, because I've had a number of people who said that to me, and I thought, no, I don't feel remorseful. But then I was like, well, do I? Because there is something so hard as a survivor to explain when you had Jovita, my friend Shonda, Tracy Braxton, Simon's cousin, this other guy at WSB, his name was Andy. He was an assignment editor. He died. Even I have Kelvin Myers. He's a makeup artist here in the area.
I know Kelvin.
He passed away from cancer. Even my dog, my poodle, which I've never told people, but he ended up having cancer, so I had to put it. So there is cancer all around me, just permeating all around me, and here I am, and everybody else is gone. So my friend Shonda, I ended up speaking and singing at her funeral, and I remember really feeling a level of jealousy, because here's why. I knew then, before I got to the 5 years where I was cancer free, I knew my life was going to be, 3 months of poking and prodding, worrying if it's returned, worrying if it's whatever that has happened based on that. And then I got to 1 year, and then I got to 2 years, but I would always just have these emotional, like it's almost like I would revert back to the day I learned that I had cancer, and I would be emotionally just spellbound and stuck, like I couldn't, to the point where when I would go to my doctor's office, they would have to put me in a side room because, I'm a little
expressive,
a little animated sometimes. And I was just, they had to they were like, you disturbing the other people who also. So I was jealous of the fact that she didn't have to do that anymore, and I would. As far as Jovita, I knew that there was reason to be concerned. about some of the things that were happening to her. But in the back of my mind here again, I'm just like, but when I knew what it was, like I said, I think I was just delusional. I made my mind put it somewhere else. Yeah. And I will say this, let me back up too, because there was a period in my life, I'm so how God does what he does to me. There was a period in my life when I was lost, when I was recovering, and I didn't know where I fit. I wasn't at WSB anymore. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I leaned heavily on my friends who were in news, Jovita being one of them. And I remember we were on the phone, or I was trying to reach her, and she was busy, and she was just like, it wasn't a mean thing she said, but because I was so emotionally vulnerable, the way she said it hit me wrong. And I just realized, like, I'm cutting off. Like, I just cut everybody off. I stopped. I had another friend. I just stopped talking to that friend. And I was just like, thankful. And years went by. And then what made me pull myself together was Amanda. Amanda passed away unexpectedly. And Jovita and I were tasked with, and some other friends of us, it wasn't a task, let me change that. We wanted to offer something to her family who was here in town. So we got food and took things over to them. And this is the first time that Jovita and I had seen each other since that little, fight that we had. And we saw each other and we were like, can you believe we're here? And I was like, no. So we walked in, we were like, come on, girl, let's do this. And I was like, okay, let's do it. We go in, we talk, and then we leave. And, I just it was awkward because I really didn't know what to say. I was like, it was good to see you. And it was, there was something that needed to be said, but I just didn't have the wherewithal to say it. Long story short, I ended up calling her because something said, Jaquetta, get it right. Like, fix it. Fix it. Because you did this. Fix it. Fix it. And fix it now. So I called her. I called another friend of mine. I bought them flowers. We went to have lunch together. And I just said, I'm sorry. Like, I realized I was sorry for the way that I acted, but I also realized after having gone through something like that publicly, cancer, being at a job, leaving that job and trying to figure out and still healing from something, my emotional state was all over the place. Like, I was wrecked and broken. And not that I regret doing it publicly, but it took something out of me to put up a good face when there were times when I was just like, oh my God, am I gonna die? Am I gonna die? And I remember one night saying, I wanna die. Like, I just had gotten to the point where I was so tired and I was so afraid. And I remember my mom was in my guest room. I was in my bathroom and I just laid out in the middle of the bathroom and was like, God, if it's your will, just go ahead and take me now because I'm tired. I'm young. Don't have many kids. I've reached the pinnacle of my career. We can just wrap this thing on up. Let's go ahead and just come on and bring me into the kingdom, Jesus. And I did. I laid out in the middle of my bathroom like this on the floor. And I was down. And then I was like, well, okay, let me turn over because maybe you can't see or hear that I'm telling you, come on, God, now. And I just started sobbing. And then I was just like, all to Jesus I surrender. And I just kept singing the song until I could just feel something soothe me. I cleaned up my face. I put a full face of makeup on, beat it down, put my wig on, pranced around, washed it all, went back to bed, and was like, I never cried like that again. Because I was like, obviously, God, if I am asking you in this moment to take me and you won't take me, there's something else I'm supposed to be doing. So got it. Okay, I got it. So graduating back up to the lunch with Jovita, and I apologized. And I was like, at that time, I was lost. And it wasn't directed towards you or anybody. I just realized there was some emotional depression. There was just some things happening in my life that I couldn't articulate properly. And it manifested itself by being angry or mean towards you. They forgave me. I felt good about that. And Lord knows I would have never guessed that sometime later she would have the cancer diagnosis. And then I remember calling her. And I was like, Jovita, I was like, just Jaquetta. She was like, girl, I know you. Girl, I know you. And, you know, we had a brief conversation, and I was like, you want me to pop my titty out? She started laughing, you know. And I had no idea that was going to be my last conversation with her. And, you know, to this day, you know, it has just been, it's been hard, but I am coming back to myself. But I think I'm coming back to myself because I just kind of, it is very difficult for me to think of her as being gone. Yeah. So I have a picture of her. We have countless pictures together. Some I can't show, and some of them, you know, that are silly, and you know, and I go by and I look at her and I talk to her. And the crazy thing that I believe too, because I remember Tawanda was telling me. Do you have a napkin? Sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. Tawanda was we can. Tawanda was telling me that she was like, you know, just talk to her. She's there. She hears you. She sees you. And I was like, okay. And I remember after she died, I would just light a candle every day. Thank you. Thank you. Every day, just to, you know, and I would just talk out loud to her. And I remember one day. I
need one too, and I'm joking.
One day I had my candle lit, and I remember specifically going over to it. Here, you want some of mine? There you go. There you go, girl. We got time to be messing up this makeup, these beat faces. And I remember the candle. I went over to blow it out, and I was talking to her, and I was like, you know, if you're around, if you're here, I was like, just give me a sign or something. I turned back around because I saw light. The candle was still on, even though I know it wasn't like I blew. I was like, so I looked to see in the candle. So I was like, okay, girl, you here with me? I got you. And I remember, like, we used to always laugh because people would get our names confused, infused. And now when people call me Jovita, I consider that's her way of saying, hey, girl. And I'm like, hey, girl, I'll see you later. I'll see you later. Because here's the other part too that I'm gonna say this really quickly. Even when I was the most afraid about dying, it occurred to me, I'm like, one day you are gonna die. One day you won't be here. One day the people who are looking won't be here. So it's not about I'm afraid of that anymore, because I'm not. I'm really not. I am more like it's going to happen at some point, but if it hasn't happened yet, then I really need to get the fullness out of this life thing. Which is why, like, now I realize people, you know, they get upset by little things. I don't have the energy or the space for it anymore. I don't.
I love that.
It's like when you think about the fact that you've almost come so close to death. Do I really care that somebody don't like my hair because now that my hair is natural,
or think you wearing too much
makeup, or whatever it is? I don't give one to no one.
Yes.
Insert bad word right here. About what
you think?
No.
Yeah.
Because one thing I know, I'm like, I'm here because God made me.
Right.
Still be here.
That part.
There ain't nothing that you gonna be able to say to me. You somebody who I don't even know, who looking at me on this thing here that you have checked in to see me, to see you, and I'm gonna worry about what you think about my hair and my makeup. Then don't you look at my hair or makeup, because I'm a do.
That is a PSA.
I'm gonna do what it is I'm gonna do. Him.
I have two questions, but I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to go first. After you left WSB, we're going to talk about that. What happened? You had cancer and you had WSB, and you were getting ready to go to another affiliate in DC, correct?
Yes. Okay, so before I was diagnosed with cancer, my contract was coming up. I realized that I kind of wanted to do some other things. I wanted to go to another station. So I had some conversations with some folks in Washington, D.C., and I was working on that path. And then, unfortunately, that's when I was diagnosed with cancer. So that put the brakes on everything, because I knew I needed to work on my health. And even when I was working on my health, my contract, we were talking about extending it at WSB, and I was like, after I remember being back in the newsroom. This was after my chemo was over. I was still doing radiation. I was starting radiation, excuse me. So radiation was every day for 6 weeks. So I would go to radiation. And after that, I would make it to WSB and start my work day. I would never do that again. That's because radiation was just as taxing on my body. But back then I thought I was Superwoman, so
clearly
did that. And so I was like, okay. One day I was standing in the middle of the newsroom and I was just looking around and I was like, something's off. Meaning everybody was doing everything that they normally did in our newsroom. But I realized I was different. I was changed. So I remember going to a store and I was like, God, if I'm supposed to be here, give me 3 signs that I'm supposed to be here. If I'm not supposed to be here, give me 3 signs that I'm not. I like to do things in threes. I ended up getting this story about this woman who found her family member murdered in his business. She was the first one to discover his body. We got there relatively quickly. So she came out of the business and she came towards me and just began to hug and sob. And I held her while she hugged,
because you're a familiar face.
Yeah. And, we did the interview, put it together, made my time slot. My executive producer called and was like, great job on the story, but your next hit, which is at 6 o'clock, you need to explain to the people why you were hugging her. And I was like, she found her brother who was murdered, and you want me to explain why I'm hugging a woman who found her dead brother in his business? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's example number 1. Okay? I ain't supposed to be here. 2, I remember there was a church, I think it was off Ralph David Abernathy. It used to be a club. It morphed into a church. It was called the Perfect Church. Lightning hit the church steeple. I went there to cover the story. I remember I wanted to drive my car because I wanted to leave the location and go home. I had my wallet, my phone, and my car. WSB's laptop and phone was in the live truck. I remember seeing some boys that looked like they was about their life. And I asked the photographer while I'm in front of the camera, because I could see him. I was like, hey, did you lock the live truck? Hey, yeah. He just wanted me to shut up so we can, because they were counting me down. I was like, okay. I did my live shot. I come back. WSB's laptop is gone. WSB's phone is gone.
Mercy.
My phone and wallet and such in my vehicle was there. Sign number 2.
Wow.
Last sign. I had gone to a Hawks game. I think I used my WSB because I had to show my identification or something. And several days go by. We had reached my last day of my contract because I decided I wasn't going to extend my contract. I wanted to leave. And so before you go, you have to give your key card back over to your management. I didn't have mine. So I was like, well, let me just go to my mailbox, not thinking that anything was there, but let me just go there and see if I have any mail before I chuck the deuces. My key card was in my mailbox. Apparently, when I had gone to that Hawks game several weeks before, I must have dropped it, left it, somebody mailed it back. Wow. And it was in my mailbox the day I was leaving WSB so that I could pull it out of my mailbox and hand it over. Those were my 3 signs to let me know it's time to go. Now, where was I going? I don't know. Did I have no job? Did I know what I was going to do? Nope, did not know. I just knew, like, on faith, it was time for me to go. And I knew I needed to move, because I also realized, here's something that people always ask, why did you leave news? I loved news when I was in college. I wanted to be a journalist, and what I thought I was going to be able to do in the world, how I was going to be able to affect change. But when you think about it, I have memories that most normal people don't. I was driving over here and immediately something outside was dead. I had my roof back. I could smell it. It has a very distinct smell. I have seen bodies. I have seen murders. I know bodies when they are in the water for too long. I know how to stand upwind. I know how to stand downwind. I know how if water will bloat your body to where if you've been in the water too long and if you're black, your skin sloughs off. So sometimes they have a hard time. I have visuals, and people don't realize that's a part of what we do. And the majority of stories that you see locally or nationally, they're tragedies, they're murders, they're bad weather. So I am in a cesspool of constant negativity, sorrow. And at one point in my life, I could handle that. But after something about once you fight for your life and you are that close to death, it makes you want to live differently. At least that was the case for me. That's why I was like, I got to get out of here. Not that I couldn't do it. Not that I couldn't still do it now. I just didn't want to do it. If I have a certain amount of time on earth, I want it to be filled with rainbows and happy things and butterflies and cocktail drinks with little straws and things and, you know, things. Somebody rubbing oil on me.
There you go.
You know, I want something. I want joy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
That's why.
It makes me think, though, because before I did this interview, I wanted to ask you, do you think the newsroom and cancer go together? And the reason why I want to ask that is when I tried to get insurance and they told me that there was certain fields or careers that were more prone to certain things. So there's like a number scale, 1 to 4, I don't know what it is. Hairstyling was up there, but also because the newsroom is such a fast pace, it was up there with like police and fire department and
the
stuff.
stress and
the stress and the,
you know, I don't know, but here's what I can say. I can say out of all the people who work at WSB in front of the camera and behind the camera, Jovita, Monica, Jeff Dorr, Lori Geary, Karen Minton, me, Wendy Corona, Andy, who was somebody who was behind the scenes. This other guy, I can't think of his name right now. He's behind the scenes too. So that's 9 people in one place.
a short period of time.
And then since that time, I've learned, I think their news director had cancer at one point. So I do find that it's a large amount of people, particularly at all the, if you look at all the other stations, the number of people who have cancer, and you compare that to WSB, you know, people who've gone and who are still there, it's enough to make you wonder why and how it keeps happening.
Yeah. I think from my end, everybody had weird diseases. Like I was working with Jane Robelo, and I think she had like, I don't know what she had. She had something going on with her eye. It's going to come to me in the interview. But it was so many people that were getting sick. You're just like, oh, you got cancer. Oh, okay.
And but here's the thing. It's a stressful space.
It's very stressful.
It's you know, it's fast paced. You've got to be able to go to somebody who you've never met, who's lost their whomever, whatever, stick a microphone in their face and make them feel comfortable enough to tell you their whole life story. Then after you've done that, get, you know, the official statement, whatever you need to do, get to the live truck quickly, turn it around, write it, voice it, put the mask up, get in front of the camera, spit it out, drop it all down, do it again for another story. That's all day.
Yeah.
We do something called running and gunning all day. And I remember when I first started working at WSB, I remember I worked so much one time, I lost my voice and still was in front of the camera talking like this. But it is what it is. And it is a very, and I always tell young people who want to be journalists or who want to, I'm like, you know, be very careful about what you're asking for, because you don't get the total picture of what this is just because you're in front of, because I know a lot of people want to just be on television, or they, you know, journalists want to be, they're not really journalists, they want to be influencers, they want to be famous, they want to be in front of the TV, they want to be on the red carpet. I come from the old school.
Yeah.
And either way, it's still a lot of work. And it never stops. Your life does not belong to you. And I don't, you know, I'm grateful for what I did, but I don't
I
miss
do have
it.
a question about the youth, though, that are going into the industry. I used to work at WGCL, as you know. And one of the things that I noticed with working with some of the women that it was completely different from how it used to be.
Oh God, yeah.
Meaning, you know, we worried about the news writing copy first and our image second. It's a
Content first,
Yeah.
not being the story. You were never the story, which is why it was hard for me to tell mine to make my head
that
flip.
part.
Yeah, let me tell you something. I don't know when the shift happened, but I clearly saw it happening. Like I remember what made me really realize I'd closed the door on doing television. I remember watching Don Lemon at Ferguson, and he was out there with a gas mask on, and you know, all the people. But I remember thinking, this is great television, meaning they're really telling a good story, but it's not going to make any difference. People after that, still George Floyd, there were still black people dying. So you did all that, and for what? And that's when I was like, okay, we're not making a difference. As far as these young people now, I have heard from some of my friends who are still in news that some of the young people, they don't care about factually being correct. They may not check their sources. And I'm hearing from some of my former colleagues that they're very sensitive. Like you can't correct, you can't help, you can't show, because they feel like they already know, and or they feel like we're old or we don't know what we're talking about. This is the new whatever, and that's fine. But I was always concerned with being sued or not having information correct, or having a one-sided story,
lose your job,
or lose my job. Being fair and balanced, that's what we. But I don't these. And then I've had some young people who wanted me to mentor them, but they didn't ask that question. I had to kind of pepper them to find out, oh, you want me to call somebody? But I'm like, why? First of all, I don't do that if I don't know you personally, because I don't want to, you know.
Put your name on the line.
Yeah. And then I don't, but there is such a high level of, they feel owed.
Expectation,
like I'm indebted to you. And I remember having interns like Jonathan Martin, who's on the Channel 11 now, and a couple of other people that I mentored under my lead. They know how to be journalists. They work hard. But these kids now, I don't know what it is.
It's scary.
It scares me. But I also realize too, we have become what your opinion is, not what the truth is. It's almost like you'll fight the truth if it, you know, has any kind of combativeness to my opinion. And my opinion, like you and I can sit here and have a difference of opinion. We don't have to fight. I can respectfully say I disagree with you, or I see things differently. We're done. I can still be friends. In this world that we live in, it is cutthroat. It is, you know, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just, but
it's yellow journalism. Remember that phrase? Yellow journalism. Stuff they just make up.
And things they don't, you know, they don't even, like I've seen mistakes and things, and I'm just like, that's not right.
Yeah, all day long.
And I don't even watch the news like that anymore.
What about the dress? Because I remember seeing some stuff on TikTok.
The outfits and the way they,
everything is protruding.
I don't know. You know, I came from it was hard for me when I finally decided, okay, I'm going to wear a sleeveless dress or, you know, a form-fitted dress, but it was form-fitted. To me, I thought it was, somebody would look at me like, oh, you got your grandma dress on?
How did the news work back then? Did you guys have consultants?
We had consultants. Like we would have people who would come in and who would say, okay, that's a good color on you, but I don't think you should wear your hair like that, or don't stay away from blacks or stay away from navies. So, you know, we had people who would kind of look at you, pick that apart, and or look at your work, pick that apart in order to help you be a better journalist. I don't know if they still do that now. Some of them I listen to, and some of them I was like, okay, you know, you don't understand the black experience. So when y'all have somebody black who can understand what this is, no, you know, our white chocolates are fine, but you don't understand what this is. My people understand what this is, but you don't. So it's okay.
How hard is it, or how hard was it being in news, being a darker skinned woman, being a woman, being, I guess, newer to this this demographic or this market? This market. I think we're number 9. Are we still?
Yeah,
number 9?
we're probably not 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Back then, I think it was 10 when I went.
What kind of challenges did you face?
Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't really think about my complexion or anything like that until I came to Atlanta. Up until I came to Atlanta,
Because you got to be lit. We have to be lit a special way.
we got to.
And if you don't
Let me
listen,
tell you, I always had like, it would be a light and then an extra. They were like, "That's Jaquetta's light. That's my
listen,
light." Right there.
Keno, this light situation
Yeah,
is important.
yeah,
You don't even understand.
yeah. It's imperative. Thankfully, this market was good at lighting, all hues. But I will say, coming here, I learned very quickly about my complexion, very quickly about, oh, but you're pretty for a dark-skinned woman. I could watch you. You're pretty for a dark-skinned woman. I had a man send me a message talking about he normally did not even look at women. He wouldn't even look my way. But because, for whatever reason, he found me, I don't know if he used the word exotic or whatever, but he was like, I would want to date you. And I thought, wow, really? And it makes me sad about us, because when people who look like you and me hear from other people who are lighter hued or whatever you want to call it, who say you're pretty for a dark-skinned woman, that says so much about how you feel about us as a whole.
Right.
Meaning, like, in order for us to have some level of beauty, we have to have some kind of, watered down, mixed. You've got to have something else, white, Italian, Russian. You got to have something else. You can't just be black
Nope.
and be considered beautiful. And to me, that is so sad. But I also realized I was a representation for young women who were coming after me. Monica was a representation for me who came after her. I would love for us to get to a place as Black people, we realize where there is no one sign of beauty. You can be dark, light, fat, tall, thin, voluptuous, whatever and still be considered beautiful, because there's no real standard of beauty. Somebody can look at you and think you're beautiful. Somebody can look at me and think I'm ugly, or vice versa. It's not important. What do you say about you?
That part.
What do I say about me? And that's what kept me going in this market, when people wanted to lead with, not the fact that I'm a good reporter, not that every time that they saw me on, I did a good job. I was able to, no matter what rain, sleet, or snow, I was killing it. It was, what did I look like? What you have on? How did you sound? That eyeshadow? No, I don't like that lipstick on you. It was that before they talked about the work. Whereas my male counterpart, Black or white, could be fat, bald, no hair, ugly, cute, kind of cute. That was, he's such a, he's just dynamic. But before, when I come to the scene, I don't like the way I don't like her hair. I don't like, oh, she thinks she cute. Is that her hair? Is that real? Like and I remember people used to get on me to credit a Jerry curl. And I was like, first of all, even if I wanted to wear a Jerry curl, that's my business. Secondly, I don't have a Jerry curl. This is my natural hair. Okay. So, but why is that? Why is the way we show up a problem? And we don't want to offend white people. We want to fit in. But why? When we are the people who construct flow, we are the reason why people have certain vernaculars, or the way we are the reason that women do want to have their big lips and big eyes and big butts. And
we are the culture.
We are the culture.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the culture, if I'm the flow, why am I shifting something to match something else when the something else wants to be this anyway?
That part. Let's talk about dating and stalkers.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. Oh, Lord.
I don't know which one you want to talk about first, but let's go with stalkers. How did you, because I'm in this new space, How did you manage, and how do you manage stalkers? Do you have a stalker story for me?
I've got a couple. I had one when I first started my career. There was a man who would call after he saw me on air to let me know that he had serviced himself while I was on. I was instrumental in helping him get to his happy ending. Then,
Touch my pearls.
yeah, I was just.
And
like,
he would call.
He would call. He would call.
Jesus Christ.
Then there was a time here where I was stalked by someone who basically was catfishing, pretending to be someone they were not. And to the point where, and there's something so odd about when you get a cease and desist letter, or when somebody tells you to stop calling, you stop calling. You dated somebody, y'all want to talk to them, you don't talk. But it's something that is so hard to realize that you don't get, that you don't know me, but you're stalking me. To the point where I had to have security with me when I worked. I had to have security outside of my home. There was a picture of the person at WSB to know that if there was an issue, because we later learned that this person had a criminal history, but it taught me how to be a little bit more closed off too about my information. Like when I first came here, I was very open. I'm a Southern girl. You know how Southern people are. We're very, how you doing? How your mama doing? When you go to eat? What church you go to? And people would ask me what church, when I got my hair done, all that, and I would easily tell them. But after having that experience, I don't do that anymore. I don't do that at all, actually, because you never know what somebody's intentions are or why they're asking. Because I would never think that you're asking me what church I go to be at the church one day, which I saw this person at the church that I attended. And so it also taught me about the laws of stalking and what predators, they know how to go right up to the edge of the law before, they're really caught. So I learned how to protect myself, because even in the time, if something were to happen and I needed to call the police, what's happening in the time that they're there? And if somebody's trying to hurt me or what have you. So I have become very proficient at being able to hit the target, head, center mass.
She says she is Rambo, y'all.
I'm very proficient, because I think what made me, first I was afraid. And then the more I thought about it, I just got so angry. I was like, you're gonna have the audacity to stalk me? And there's something wrong with stalking people who, I'm a good person, right? But I'm a Taurus, so somewhere in there we got a little ticky boom.
That's why I like you. Both my best friends are Tauruses. Shout out to Tracy and John. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, we got a little ticky boom.
Yeah, you got a little ticky boom.
Little ticky boom. It don't show up often, but when it does, be afraid, because I'm afraid of when that person shows up. So I had to be able to think, okay, fight or flight, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna fight.
Oh, that part. All right, with dating.
Oh Lord. Yes.
How does dating work for anchors, reporters, people in the limelight locally? Give us the do's, the don'ts. You could tell us the story. What happened? What happened?
It is very difficult when people see you as something that you don't. I've never considered or called myself a celebrity. Ever. I will never call myself that. I am a journalist. That's it. But of course, being on television, particularly locally, you come into people's home. They feel like they know you. Yeah. You are a celebrity locally in some regard. So I have found that, because I tried to date all kinds. Now, I typically dated men who I already kind of had a history with, who knew me before I was Jaquetta Williams, which made it a lot easier because I didn't have to explain. It was comfortable. But I also dated men who didn't. And I found that some men want to date you, because they're groupie dudes. They want to, you're a notch on a belt. You are a thing to capture. Or they think that you are a certain way. And they want to see if that way is true. They want to be able to claim that they date so-and-so and so, be pictured and such. then there are other men I have found it is easier to, unless the man is very comfortable, because there's something about dating a woman who is known, meaning if we go out back in my heyday and if we're at a restaurant, we're sitting, people looking, staring, men would come up and say, hey man, you know, this is my TV wife or whatever. And there was a guy that I dated for, you know, for everything that he liked about me, he ended up hating about me as the relationship went on. And that wherever we went, that happened. Or if a man would give me any kind of compliment, that would be an hour-long fight in the car going back to our houses or what have you. And some men just didn't feel comfortable with that. Okay. And I get that. And then knowing that, you know, you have friends who are celebrities. So I may be on a red carpet. I may go to, you know, an exclusive something or other, and this person is here, and, you know, they may not feel comfortable in that setting, or they may want to come to say that they were in that setting. So sometimes you never really knew, did they authentically like me, or did you like the idea of me? Because the other thing I think people think that I'm a certain way, like when you see me on television or you see me in person, and I am that way, but I'm also just like everybody else. I'm looking for somebody who cares about me, who loves me when all of this is washed down, when my breath doesn't smell so good, when I don't look so cute, you know, when I want to scratch in places I shouldn't be scratching. You know what I'm saying? We all want that. And I did date someone who had a higher name recognition than me, which was really great because I could kind of sit back and watch it happen to somebody else. I have found the majority of the relationships that worked for me were with men who either was in the same kind of space that I operated in, or was at a higher level of space, meaning they had some kind of, not name recognition, but you know, you're a CEO, you are a president of something. You got something to lose. You've got something to lose. Those seem to work a little bit better because I didn't have to explain. They probably were in those spaces that I've been in, so it was just kind of naturally easy to do. Now, I have not been on a date, and I can't even tell you the last time I was on a date. I honestly do not know.
What?
I cannot remember.
What do you mean?
I cannot remember.
I'm saying you on a date.
I cannot remember.
I got some fellas.
And then girl, please. I've gotten to the point, because here's the other thing too. I have gotten, and I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, but I've gotten very comfortable in the space that I live. My life is peaceful.
Girl.
I don't have any foolishness in my life. I don't have, and you know, to be honest, if you're going to be in a viable, good, nurturing relationship, you're going to have to make space for somebody, and you're going to have grace for somebody. You got to make time for somebody. You got to deal with whatever they're coming with.
Yep.
I don't know if I I like a companion. I like somebody to kind of just go out with, have fun with.
She said she want a dog, y'all.
You go home, I go home, you know, and if it turns into something great, but
it's too much.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if I've, you know, kind of settled into life.
My best friend is like that too. She got a dude. She might see him 2 times a month.
You know, I don't have
just doing
anybody.
A service call.
And my friends are like, oh.
I'm not gonna say the friend.
But I understood what you meant.
But you know what I mean?
Know what you mean.
She's like, I don't have the time. She already been married. She already did all that. She's not trying to do anything else. She just likes her peace. I've never been married.
I never wanted to be married.
Really?
Yeah.
You were not.
And I would never say that out loud before. I used to be so afraid to say that I didn't want to get married and I didn't want kids.
I didn't want to be married either. Yeah. I didn't want to get none of that. And then recently was like, you know what? I think I want to be married.
Really?
Yeah. It literally just happened a few years ago. Huh. Yeah. When I realized I was getting old. That part. All right. So you left television.
Yeah.
You left WSB.
Yeah.
You didn't have a job.
Nope. I just did a hodgepodge of a whole bunch of stuff. I just threw it out on faith. I did musical theater with Kenny Leon. I did some acting stints on Tyler Perry's House of Pain and Meet the Browns. I did some work with Robert Townsend for the Gospel Music Theater of Hope. I just was kind of like saying yes to whatever came, because to be honest with you, Tony, I didn't know. Like I've never, and it took me a minute, but I never had been in a place where I didn't have a list to check from. I had reached the pinnacle. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? And so I just kind of did everything, you know, and then I ended up going back to television for a little bit, which was good. It was more in line of what I wanted to do. And then that ended. And then I was back at like, okay, God, what am I going to do? And thankfully I ended up working at TBN for a while, which I loved. That, you know, ministry and everyday kind of smashed together. I loved it. But girl, I think I had been there, I don't know, 8 months, and they decided to downsize. And I was like, every time I get a job, I'm losing it. Not at any fault of my own, but just I was like, God, what are we what you doing?
You're supposed to create your own. I do have a deeper question, and you can tell me if you're willing to talk about this.
Sure.
You went through a very hard time in your life.
I ain't had no money, y'all.
You had left television.
Yep.
You were in between everything.
Yep.
You had cancer.
Yep.
Trying to heal.
Yep.
Let's talk about it. What was one of the lowest moments of your life?
Oh, there were so many of them. The ones I laid out, that one I told you about, the one time when I was just like, all of them, you know, it's funny when people talk about savings, but when you don't have a job, you go through that like it's water, like, boop, you don't have any money. And I remember looking in my refrigerator one day, and I was just like, there was nothing in there. Like no condiments, no ice, my ice machine, my ice maker on my refrigerator was broken. Like it was just nothing. And I took a picture of it because I was like, God, you have got to help me. I cannot be college educated, college graduate, pinnacle career, and I am standing in the middle of my house with nothing in this refrigerator. But the thing about God and how when he's really trying to do something, and I realized now he was really trying to do something with me and he wanted my attention. He would not allow any other person to help me because he wanted me to rely on him. Because I know if I had somebody else who helped me, I would have been like, oh, so-and-so and so. But he will give you just enough. So a couple of examples. I remember Tawanda Braxton, they were doing the Braxton Family Values, she's a close friend. And we went to this Mexican restaurant that the crew would always go to, and she invited me to come. I went because there was no food in my house. And I was like, I got to eat. So I went, we had a great time. I went to the bathroom. I came back, there was $300 in my seat. And Tawanda was like, I don't know why, but God told me to give you this. Burst out into tears. I was like, thank you, God. Second time I remember, and it was Easter. It was Easter holiday. I'll never forget it. And I was like, Lord, help me. And usually when I walk, get revelation, get ideas. That particular day, God told me to walk out the back door of my home. Most people walk out the front door. He just kept saying back door. So I was like, okay, I walk out the back door. I go around the corner. There was a breezeway in my neighborhood. In that breezeway and on the lawn was just money on the ground. Just money. It was so like, am I seeing this? But I picked it up. It was like $200 here. It was some 20s here. It was some 10s and some 5s. It ended up being $546. But I didn't count that money. I walked my dogs. I put it in my little pouch, walked my dogs, prayed, thank God, came home, and that was when I counted it. Put it out on the bed. I praised God. I went to the grocery store, got some food. I was like, thank you, Lord, for sustaining me. And then a couple of days go by and God was like, you missed one, go back. And so I go back. I didn't see anything. Next day, go back. And there's like a bush. And under the shrubs, the bush, was another $100 bill. And I was like, and people, people can think whatever they want to about religion, God, or what have you. I'm not here to argue it. I just know, for me, even me saying the story sounds crazy. It sounds like I'm not, but it happened. It happened. And I was just like, my God, thank you. Thank you. And so, and even with the crime dramas that I do, I remember saying, I really want to do, like, I don't want to do television news anymore, but I'd like to do, because I watch crime dramas all the time. I think it's really good to be able to see how crazy people become crazy. So, and the signs of crazy behavior. So I can write that down and know, that's crazy behavior. Right, that's some foolishness.
That's episode 33.
Yeah, okay. He gonna get the slashing. So, and I said that, and I was walking my dogs again, and I just remember shouting, God, help me, help me, help me. And if anybody was walking around, because I mean, I was hollering, like hollering. I'm being generous. Huh?
Where were you?
I was just walking my dogs in the neighborhood,
my gosh.
hollering in the middle of the street. I looked like a crazy person, but I did it. And then in the middle of my hollering, my phone rang. I had a producer that I used to work with. She was like, I work with the Oxygen Network. We got a couple of crime dramas. Would you be willing to bring a change of clothing? We wanted to have you be a contributor. And I was like, it just always felt like I was being punked. Just, is this? So those were the things, and that they sustained me. God got me through it. I ended up going to another TV station, and I was like, I really didn't want to do TV anymore. I really didn't. But I was like, okay, God, if I do TV, three things. I was like, help me see. And I was like, one, I didn't want to be a street reporter. I didn't want to be an anchor and reporter. I just wanted to anchor. I wanted to have a specialty show, and I didn't want to change the way that I looked. I didn't want to straighten my hair. I didn't want to relax it. I didn't want to do any of that. I was on a Tyler Perry set doing, I think I was in the choir. Lady wanted me to not have my black eyeliner. She kept trying to get the eyeliner off. And I went outside, and I was just like, God, help me. Got a phone call from the news director who was like, we'd like to talk to you. I was like, okay. I go there. The covenant was between me and God. These are the three things I'm going to need to hear. If I don't hear these three things, I'm out. So I get there. He was like, we really don't see you as a reporter. We really see you leading a newscast. Thing one. Two, he was like, Monica's going to be retiring, and they're getting rid of Monica Kaufman's close-up. I can see you doing something like, I don't know, Chiquetta's close-up. Girl, when he did that, I was just sitting there like, oh, Jesus. Oh, there's power in the blood. I was like, Lord Jesus, if this man says something about my hair, I'm going to be out here if you say anything. So he just keeps talking. He's talking. He was like, yeah, got any questions? Tony, I ain't had no questions. As long as I have been an anchor reporter, I have always had a question. I can come up with a question. I ain't had no questions. So I was like, when do you need somebody to start? And that began my career at, it was CBS Atlanta News at the time. So, yeah. God provides, honey. And now, even when I was sick and I had a relationship, and honey, I cried over that relationship ending because I thought that was going to be the guy that I married. Because I'm like, how do you go through cancer like this with somebody and they're right there by your side and y'all aren't together? And I was like, I don't want you to be, I'm not saying I'm going to get married tomorrow, but I was like, I would like for you to be my first kiss. And girl, that brother was like, my uncle, him and his girlfriend, they've been together for 15 years. I was like, I'm too fine to be anybody's forever girlfriend. And I knew in that moment, my relationship with this man is over. It's over. And it was. And I remember.
What was it?
Over. It was over. It was over. It was over now. And I remember.
Oh my God.
Forever girlfriend. What I look like. You gotta go ahead on. And I remember walking my dog, and this is what got me over, because I cried for that man for almost a year, because I was like, God, how you going? But then I was like, that brother was there to teach me unconditional love.
Ooh.
Because he loved me, bald-headed, sick. He was there. So I will always and forever be grateful for that. And God put him there for that. But then once that was over, God was like, I'm going to move him on out the way, because And it's so funny because when I think about it, he used to always say this thing when he was like, I always want to make it hard for the next man.
Ooh!
And it wasn't until I was out of that
I
relationship.
heard someone say that to me.
But I realized if you're saying you want to make it hard for the next man, that means you don't plan to be there. You don't plan to be there. Because a man who wants you would never say or think about the next man.
Mm-hmm.
And I got that. I was like, when you go back and really look at a relationship, I'm like, oh, the signs
were there.
They were there
all the time.
But I give myself grace because I'm like, you were sick and you were fighting for your life. And you told him before I even started dating him, I told him I didn't want to date him because I was like, I'm about to, I'm about to fight for my life.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, so I'm walking my dogs, trying to heal from that ending. And God was just like, why are you crying? And I was like, well, God, because I thought he was going to be. He was like, did he heal you? I was like, no. Is he capable of helping you walk like you walking now? And I was like, no. He was like, so why are you crying? And I was like, I don't know. And stop. I ain't cried for that and ain't thought about it no more because I was like, that was for that period of my life. It's something about keeping people in your life longer than they should be. They sour and they spoil and they mess you up too when they're not supposed to be there. So I was like, give him free. I'm free. And I'm ready for the next. And what's so funny about that, Tony, for all of that vibrato that he said he wanted to make it harder for the next man, honey, the next man and the man after that were so much better. And I'm grateful for that ended because I would have never experienced the beauty of the other two. And it was beautiful.
Oh, Lord.
It was beautiful.
Talking about true crimes, give me your favorite true crime story. Do you have one?
Girl, let me tell you something. It's so.
Do you remember any of them?
It's. I remember. No, yeah, I do. But
she said they all bleed together.
Yeah, I will tell you this though. I'll tell you an actual story that's one of the highest ones that I remember. I remember I was going to do a story with this lady. But that day, sometimes your hair don't be right, your makeup wasn't right, my outfit wasn't right. It was just I needed to do it over, and I was just in the car. And I remember meeting the lady. She was a survivor, and not a breast cancer survivor, but a murder survivor. Her partner, her husband, boyfriend, I think was boyfriend, tried to kill her. And when I met her, there were gash marks all over her face. From here to here, she had not bruising, but like a not a welt, but like a scar. That's the word, scar, where he slit her throat, and then he killed himself. Oh, when I tell you, Tony, I sat down and talked to that woman. That woman smiled. She had grace. She was happy the entire interview. And she's telling me about how this man tried to murder her, but she was still here. She still had worked. What he tried to do, he did not win. Now, he died. He was dead. She was not. And I was like, you know what? I'm sitting here being upset about my hair, and this woman is grateful for life. I will never forget that story. And since that time, I'm like, yeah, my complaining. Baby, what you complaining about? And her scars were never going to go away. They were going to be a constant reminder. But honey, she didn't care about that. She was like, I just call this my necklace. It's my necklace. I was like, wow. So that's a true crime. That's an actual story that I covered that's memorable for me.
Why didn't you go to CNN or one of the news networks?
I did not want to.
Why?
When I tell you my pinnacle, like bucket list of things to do, I always wanted to come to Atlanta, work at WSB, be in a double box. That's the little box, have Monica Kaufman say, live on the scene, Jaquetta Williams at
Yes.
And the first time she did that, I was like,
Is it happening?
I was like, oh my God, I'm here. And this was the coup de grace for me. WSB anchoring in this market. This was it. This was my CNN. This was my network television. I didn't have a desire to do that. And then to be honest with you too, network television, it's its own beast. you know, and I also knew, like, even here in this market, you have to play a game to survive, to read the room. And I just didn't want to play the game anymore. And it is a heavy, weighty kind of burden.
Talk about playing the game. What is give the
Playing the
viewers,
game means
what kind of things did you have to endure working in news when you say play the game?
so let's just say if we're in a morning news meeting, there's a story, you want to do it, I want to do it. At WSB at that time, they would let us battle it out
Oh my goodness!
to fight for the story.
Wow.
And if I got this, and this, and I won over you, that's a battle. I've got to politically, you know, and even, let's be clear, even being a black woman up against a white woman, she may want the story, I want the story. Particularly if it's a story where we are there. You don't need to be there, I need to be there. But sometimes that's a fight. And because sometimes it's like, well, why is every time I got to do it, why can't she do? So you have to balance that. You also have to fight where, I've always been of the opinion in newsrooms, there's enough, in big markets, there's enough space for all of us. I don't need to compete with you. You don't need to compete with me. There's room. But unfortunately, sometimes with women who look like us, black women, and that's any hue, there is sometimes unspoken competitiveness between the women, sometimes within the station, sometimes in the community. And thankfully, back to Jovita, and her name is Jovita, my name is Jaquetta. I'm dark skinned, she's light skinned. So there is this thing that can happen. Thankfully, she and I were very aware of that, and we never allowed that to be a thing for us. But I've seen it time and time again. If I'm thinner than you, then, and if it's only 2 spots for the weekend anchor, the likelihood is I'm going to get it because I'm thinner or I'm what people like. Or sometimes you may be the person that they like, but I'm going to fight you because I'm thinner. I'm this.
I deserve it.
Because I deserve it. I look the part. I'm adjacent to my white counterparts rather than, so what? But she's amazing. You're better at the job than me. So it's a lot of that's in the business where you are competing, and then you want to be the lead story, because if you're leading the story, you're the first thing out the gate after the anchor say I'm so and so and I'm so and so. You know,
and a lot of times you get more time too.
You get more time, and if you indirectly, people realize that when the news comes on, I see her first. That means there's some level of, oh, she's good. You know, so it's that, and it's also getting exclusives. That's competition within a news station, and that's competition with other anchors who look like you at other stations as well. You know, people, we do know each other here in this market, but there are some relationships that are closer than others. There are some people who are in this market I don't particularly care for. There are some who don't particularly care for me, and that's fine. But that's competition too. So, you know, it's constantly battling. You just got to always be on your guard, and I've never wanted to be in a situation where, let's just say if I missed something on a story, which that never happened to me, but because it was good at what I did.
Never did.
Okay, and you wouldn't finna.
Not at all.
No. I wasn't gonna miss no slot, and I wasn't missing no information. Okay, you were not gonna get no exclusive over me. See that thing? That thing's still there. It's still there. But let's just say if you didn't get something, and the competition did, and we're in the middle of a news, they want to know what did you do? Why did they have it and you didn't? And then not only do you need to go back out, particularly if it's a big enough story, you need to go now and find something bigger than what the person who scooped you on to redeem yourself. Do you know how much pressure that is? That's pressure. And if you don't make it, like I remember scooping a reporter from Channel 5, like I had a bunch of stuff. When I tell you that reporter, after Her news director saw my story, berated her to the point where she came over to my live truck and said, "How did you get that interview?" And I was like, "I'm a journalist. Like, I'm not going to tell you, because I wouldn't do that to you." She was like, she asked me again. I said the same answer. She sent her photographer over, who was a black photographer. "No, seriously, how did you get that? Because we're not going to be able to go back to the station without telling our news director how you got the exclusive." And I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you."
I bet you people did not know it was that hard
Oh,
out there in these streets.
oh. Back then, I don't know what it's like now, but when yes, ma'am,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah. That's deep. What celebrity have you interviewed surprised you?
El DeBarge.
Really? I love me
El
some
DeBarge. Okay, let me tell you my backstory about El DeBarge real quick. So, when the CBS affiliate was courting me to come work there was another NABJ. So it was in San Diego at that time. I remember we had gone to dinner, came back. Out in front of the hotel, there was just like a barrage of women. And I was like, "What's going on?" And the assistant news director was like, he was black. He was like, "That looks like El DeBarge." I was like, "Stop the car! Stop the car! Stop the car!" They were like, I was like, I got out the car. I muscled my way through them women. And I was like, "Hey." He was like, "Hi." Baby, we took a picture right there. I was like, "Come in." I was like,
Love.
So then the second time around, he was in Atlanta. It was his album after the 20-year hiatus or whatever. The second chance. That was the name of the album.
Oh, I love that.
He was coming
album.
here
Yes.
to promote that. And so we sat down. He spoke, out of all the people I've interviewed, he was so honest, transparent. He told me, Tony, that because he was addicted to crack.
Yeah.
And he was saying how the video of the second chance is the place where he's walking, where he used to be cracked out. He went back there. He was like, when he first got clean, even if he took a nap, he would have what he called crack dreams. And a nap is 30 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. But he would have a dream about smoking crack. He was like, that's how addictive it was, and that's how difficult it was for him to be free of the drug.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. And out of all of his siblings, at first he was the main one who was like hell-bent on not being addicted to anything. He wouldn't even take prescription he wouldn't take aspirin or any pain medication because he knew, but he was like, the first time he did it, he knew he was in trouble because he just couldn't stop. And then for him to be so candid about it, and then his voice sounded like it never
changed
at all. And he also knew that was grace, because doing that amount of drug use has
we've seen it.
Yeah.
We've seen it.
Yeah.
Talking about news, there's so much going on. How do you feel about these podcasters now and these folks who don't have journalist degrees coming out here? Like your Shannon Sharps.
Shannon and I went to college together. Shannon has said more than one time that he is not a journalist. And I think there's space for everybody. As long as you don't try to be or pretend to be a journalist, then I'm okay with that. I mean, I've heard people say that they're journalists who are not, because I think that does it does a disservice to people who went to college to get their degree in mass communications and
had to run teleprompter
and
all those little steps you got to take to get to even being on the air, run the camera, write, run
and
audio.
You can always tell when podcasts or whatever they're novice because they don't know how to necessarily handle interviews or ask the right questions. They're kind of just checking a box or looking at questions rather than really listening to the person because they've really said something. So I think there's a space for it.
Yeah.
I've watched Shannon's shows, but sometimes I have to internally stop myself because I'm like, see, you should ask. I said, you should ask this question. But then I realized he's not a journalist. He's just
I think
having a
more
conversation.
journalists need to have podcasts.
You think?
I'm telling you, because me, coming from my background, we were able to, I would say, zoom past all the novice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And all the, what music do you listen to?
Yeah.
Or who
I hate men. Or let's talk about men. Let's talk about masculine women. You know, like you just steer clear from that and you just get down to the nitty gritty.
Right.
Like, what's the information?
Yeah.
Tell me what you know.
But that's a skill.
Yeah.
That's a skill. And I think people, I used to get people all the time, I want to do what you do. How you do what you do? Not realizing that if somebody makes something look easy, that means that's exactly what it means.
Practice.
Exactly what it means.
That part.
Exactly what it means. Why do you think Beyonce is as amazing? That's years.
Absolutely.
You don't just come to that. And you don't just come to this. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there a question that I haven't asked you that you want me to ask you?
No. You've asked me. My mom.
Are those your real teeth? We all want to.
They are my real
Is that
teeth.
your real hair?
That's my real
Is
hair.
this a Jerry curl?
That's not a Jerry curl.
Is it live or is it memorized?
You tried it.
You remember that? I just aged
I
myself.
do.
I just aged myself. Okay. All right. So, Chiquetta Williams.
Yes.
Are you ready, sis?
Yes.
For random questions. Where's Nikki? Where's Nikki go? This is whack. Where's my Nikki? All right. First question. I ask this to everybody.
Sure.
What trend do you okay, let me give you the rules. I always do this. You might want to drink some water. So the rules are answer it quickly. If you have a funny story to tell, please do. Otherwise, these questions are all over the place.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
Yeah.
Go.
What trend do you want to see go away?
Lace fronts?
That's everybody's trend they want to see go away. That's it? No others. You don't want to see BBLs. You don't want to see.
I'm tired of rappers talking about how much money they have, how great their punanis are. I would like that to go away.
Yeah,
like
immediately.
that, some of that city girl trend stuff to go away. Getting flued out.
Where do you think this? How is this even getting through though?
I don't know.
So it's a market.
It is.
It's a market. Tell me about your friends and why they are in your life.
Oh, girl, I've had to get rid of some people who no longer served this journey of my life. The people who are in my life now are supportive, inspirational, accountability partners, positive, joyous, energetic. They keep me centered. Laughing. Yeah. They are a mirror of me. Why? They are reciprocal.
Ooh, that's an important word.
They're reciprocal.
Why did you get rid of some of the other friends?
I just came to realize that I was doing the work. In order for us to be friends, I had to call. I was always checking. I was, how you doing? How you doing? How's everybody doing? Just checking on you. I never got that back from those people.
Oh.
And I don't know if it was intentional or not, or they were just used to me doing it. I don't know. I'm not faulting them for it. It just no longer served me. And once I realized that in order for me to really have the kind of friendship that we were having, it was on me to do, it no longer interested me to do. And now I have reciprocal friends. I give you, it doesn't have to be tit for tat, but it literally is, because when you think about relationships, friendships, marriages, boyfriends, sisters, everybody wants something. And it's nothing wrong with me saying I want reciprocity. I want that.
What job in news or TV would you not want to do ever?
I would never want to be the assignment editor.
Ooh.
Ever. Ever.
I would say, yeah. That's a pretty hard one.
I would never want to be the assignment editor.
Wait a minute. Let me ask you this, because I don't know if this is still it. Does the assignment editor listen to the scanners still?
Listen to the scanners.
Nope. Okay, so I did that job.
Yeah. Listen to the scanners.
I used to dream in codes.
Yeah.
Do you know? This is going to be really sad. When I was working in news, I was on the desk This is for Metro. And we used to get these codes. I don't know if it was 49 or 69. You know, everything has a code.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of remember the code.
Yeah.
And each code is different for each county.
Yes.
Sometimes they're the same.
Yes.
And sometimes they're
not.
different. So it came to be around the holiday season. And I had just started. And I was just like, man, where are all these 56? I don't know what code it was. 56, 59. Where are all these 56, 59 codes coming from? And they were back to back to back to back. I mean, day after day. And I'm just like, oh, I'm giving it to whoever I need to. You got a 56 over in Gwinnett. You got a 56 over in DeKalb. You got a 56 over in Gwinnett. And then I learned that they were suicides. And then I found out that during the holiday season, you had an influx of suicides. And the entire time that I was there, I was only reporting or giving the information about suicides from Thanksgiving to Christmas and maybe New Year's. That was crazy. So
That's
yeah,
news.
I would not want to do that. I used to dream and dream about the scanners, you know, and if
And
I
it's
missed something,
constant. And then, but you have people who are not news people, meaning they're not in a newsroom, but people who are at home who love listening to scanners,
It's
which I
weird.
think they're very
and there's
different
scanners for every county.
Yeah.
And they're all on at the same time.
Yes.
And if you miss something,
Yeah.
I got to go call the,
Yep.
hey,
Yep.
what was that I
Yep.
just,
Yep.
sometimes they want to help you.
Yep.
Sometimes
And
you,
they will not.
yeah. It was awful.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes.
That was a good choice.
Yes.
Because I did that job.
No.
I
Well,
hated
God
it.
bless you. 'Cause,
Okay. Thinking about your youth or college or whatever.
okay.
What show were you upset when it got canceled?
Well, none of them really. It would be a different world, but it was still going on when I was in college. That was like must see TV. We watched the Cosby. Ooh, I'm dating myself. We watched Cosby. We watched Different World,
Right.
And then like our dorms just shut down. Don't come in here with no noise.
Right.
We watching Different World. Like and that wedding episode. Please, baby, please. Oh, I do. I'm sorry, Paris. Girl, baby. Because that's the thing too. We didn't watch that much television in college. We were at the parties and I was pledging and you know, that's the only one that I took time out for.
I do a mean. I was about to do it. I was going to do Whitley Gilbert, but I take it back. I take it back. I used to talk like Whitley Gilbert for fun
Really?
all
God
the
bless
time.
you.
I know it was weird.
God
People were like,
bless
"What's wrong
you.
with you?"
Bless your heart.
I tried it, child. I did.
Jasmine don't even talk like that.
I know, but I'm like,
Chalisa.
Chalisa.
Dwayne. Dwayne. Pookie.
I love it. Okay. What's next? What's next for you?
What's next for me? You know, Tony, having this experience, this was lovely. So I need to figure out.
I think you should have your own show.
Okay, I need to figure that out.
Yeah, we need to talk.
I need to figure that out. Because the other thing I realized too, there's so much noise though. Meaning TV, scrutiny, the way that people have access to you and can just be so nasty.
Ooh.
Just so nasty.
Hey, viewers.
Just so nasty. Even if you don't agree with something, I don't think people have to be so venomous about it. And it just feels like such a playground for bullies,
Yeah.
for grown people.
Yeah.
Because I find sometimes if I don't like something or what somebody's saying, I've curated my feed for Instagram. It's not negative. If it's not dogs, happy people, funny things, I don't watch it. But even if I don't agree with somebody, I don't have to get on their page and just write a diatribe of how whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that is. And it's just so much of it.
It is.
So I'm like, can I handle it? Absolutely.
Do not check your messages. Don't check your DMs. Don't check your comments. I have somebody else do it. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Because if they were talking to me, I couldn't handle it. I wouldn't. Be able to
But
do
here's the thing: if people saw you in person, they wouldn't say that to you.
it. Absolutely not.
They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do
So
it.
why
Most
do
people
it?
wouldn't do it.
So why do it online?
Yeah, I just don't understand why.
I'm just gonna start hiring IT folks, like those little people that find people, and we can find
I
your
just-
profile, and
I don't know what's
come
next, though.
visit you at your house.
I don't know what's next. And it's funny because I fought this because I'm like, you know, there's a weird thing about accomplishing all the goals that you have and trying to create new goals. And I don't know what the new goals are.
I think it's creating your own platform, your own space for you to just do whatever it is that you, and control it and get paid from that. And you don't have to worry about this person telling you what to do or what to wear or how to look or what to say.
Right.
You get to interview
But it's
people.
a lot of work.
Listen,
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot
I
of
know
work.
I know exactly.
but we are so used to it. It's less work than that, though. I can tell
Okay.
you that. It's less work than what we used to do.
Okay.
I know it's damn
Well,
sure.
we're
less
gonna
work.
have a conversation after because
will.
I've been dancing with that idea.
You should.
But I always sit down.
Let this be one of your first, second, and third. Kino, you might need to be her second. You might need to tell her. Yeah. Okay, next question before my last question.
Sure.
I see that you have an AKA shirt on.
Yes.
What did you learn? Mm-hmm. How were you transformed through the sisterhood
Okay.
of AKA sorority?
Okay. Let me say, so really quickly, my favorite teacher in the world, her name was Dr. Millicent Mazik. She was a Delta. When I was in high school, loved her. She was and I got some scholarships from Delta Sigma Theta. I got scholarships from Omega Psi Pi in order for me to go to school. Got to Savannah State, thought I wanted to be a Delta. I was not in line with our Deltas at Savannah State. They were more aggressive. That I just was like, that's not me. Then I saw the AKAs, and it was maybe like 5 or 6 of them, and I was just, and I was like, oh yeah, I can do that. I like that. I was like, yeah, sign me up for that. But what I will say that I learned, I loved, because I'm an only child, I don't have any siblings. I learned about really looking out for your sister. Like, there was a time in my life, there was 24 of us on our line, and we were right, on the cusp of when they stopped doing lines and such. It's a new process. But I remember knowing from 1 to 24, I could tell you their favorite foods. I could tell you their favorite drinks. Wow. I, just really connected with them. And I will say this, it wasn't until I got to college, but really when I pledged, that I was even aware of my agency of my body. Like, that even people would find me cute or whatever. I just never saw that. And because when I was online, I had a big sister who would be like, big sister, I have a number 13, because I was 13. Are you pretty? And I'd be like, well, I think I wouldn't say I'm pretty. I think I'm, baby, she was like I had to just, my face was always in the wall. And she said, the next time I ask you this, and this was when my hair was longer, she was like, I want you to say, yes, big sister supreme, I am so pretty. And doing that after, like over and over and over and
school days over
and over again. I was like, so I came into my femininity, my sensuality. AKA helped me do that.
Ooh.
They helped me to kind of see myself in a different, and then of course learning the history and learning why we became sorority, the things that we doing now, and it's just ain't nothing like it.
Hey,
ain't nothing else. I mean, what else is there? There is nothing else.
So now I have a question for you.
Sure.
Are you pretty?
Yes, Tony, I am so pretty. But I still am like, yeah, well, come on. I'm all right. I don't think I'm ugly. I'm all right. Yeah, some days not so much, but today I think I'm kind of cute. I'm all right.
Yeah.
Nobody gonna throw me out the bed.
Oh my God. All right, my last question.
Sure.
It's the end, and if you believe in God, what do you hope God says to you, or say to you?
What do I hope He says to me?
Yeah. What do you?
I hope that He says that I am walking in the direction that He put me here for. I don't want to. One thing I know for sure, I do not want to leave this earth without knowing that I am here and doing the thing or things that He created me for, whatever that is. That's what I want.
Do you think you're on that path?
I kind of think I am. even though I still don't know what it is, I feel like each step I make, removing friends, the new people in my life that I'm encountering are just next steps to whatever that is.
Yeah.
And I don't think he'll let me leave here without knowing it.
Yeah.
And even if it's just being light, energy, or an example of things can happen, you can fall down, you can get up. If that's it, great, I'll do it. But I just want to know that I am operating. And then I make him proud.
Ooh.
That he's happy with what I'm doing. Even if I don't always get it right, I want him to be pleased with what I'm doing, because I'm so grateful.
I'm happy you're
for
here.
him. Me too.
No, I mean, I'm happy you're here
Me too.
in this world
Me too.
with us.
Me too. Me too. I finally get it. I'm still supposed to be here.
Yeah. You got work to do, sis.
I got work to do.
Get to work.
Baby, that's why I got this outfit on.
She
honey.
would-
I got work to do. I got work to do. I got a job, baby.
I got a job, baby. Tell them where they can find you on social media.
I am at Jaquetta W on Instagram, Jaquetta Williams on Facebook. I think I'm Jaquetta.Williams on TikTok. And I'm Jaquetta W on Threads. I'm Jaquetta Williams on YouTube. All things Jaquetta Williams. And at some point, I'm going to be at Jaquetta.com. So,
I said I was not going to do this.
what? What?
You just gotta play with me for a little bit.
Okay, I'm playing.
Okay.
Okay.
You know that scene?
Where?
From The Color Purple,
Okay.
where the sisters.
You and me will never find my deep I
I told her I had a dream that we were going to do that. Thank you for that moment. I appreciate that. Jaquetta Williams.
Yes. This was wonderful.
It
Thank you.
was so wonderful. I am so honored, and I'm so humbled
Thank you.
by all of this. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
opening your entire life. Thank you
you.
for allowing us to peek through, and thank you for being honest and true. I know it's very difficult for people in your industry,
Yep.
our industry, news, reporting, anchoring, to really just be. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
You guys put that smile on,
Yes.
fake ass smile all the time, and you
It's
always
genuine.
no, yours is, but a lot of them
Yeah.
are not.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for them to get out of that role.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that you took the time to be able to let us see what's behind the curtain and not be afraid to be vulnerable.
Honey, at my big age and all that I've gone through, I hope the message gets, to the people who need to hear it.
Yeah.
And the ones who don't,
Who are they?
Girl, they don't matter.
That part.
They don't matter.
Sis, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm humbled. Guys, if you like this type of content and you want to reach out to Jaquetta, she told you all her social media platform handles. There's 17 of them. You will find her. And if you can't, you can always reach out to us. But before then, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And also, if you want to get in contact with us directly, make sure you reach out to us via email at info@smittyand.com. Again, that's info@smittyand.com. And until next time, take care of one another. My key.
You and me will never part.